Hey Nathan, I'm recording this video very quickly and I'm headed out, and you can see wrong side Rory with his back to the camera. Oh, he turned around. Because I watched your last episode and there was a whole bunch of things I wanted to respond to, so I wrote them down. The one that really kind of has opened up a rabbit hole for me, and in fact I have lots of tabs open on the computer in front of me that I just disappeared into, and for about 20 minutes when I was like, oh, I'm just going to record a video, it'll take me 10, and then I got sucked into the internet, was because you have shown this amazing scarf pattern. Yes, Rory wants to go out, he can't, he'll just have to live, based on, let's get the right one, there we go, based on the piano curve. Now, I'll just stay with the cat. Go on then. Go on. You were quite happy until I started talking. There you go. This is a very rough and ready thing. I'm not editing or anything. Right. And you said one of my least favourite phrases, which is fine, I still love you. But you said, I'm not a scientist, but... and then you continue talking. And now, technically, in this case, you were talking about your doubt as to whether or not one continuous curve could, in fact, map an entire square. The answer is yes, by the way. That's the short answer. I'm going to give you a slightly longer answer, but I'm not going to go anywhere near as deep as it could, because it's a long, long time since I've studied this kind of thing, and I am very, very rusty, and I will end up saying something horribly wrong. So, the first thing I did was to draw this. So we start with, that is a line from 0 to 1. It's a unit line, if you like, and I just started to think about all the different numbers that are on that line. You've got some numbers that are fairly straightforward to think about, like 0.2. Originally that was 0.3, then I realised that I kind of not put it on the right place on the line. It's probably more like 0.25, but you know. And then you've got other numbers that are like really odd and awkward, like 0.497634187939245466988876, and so on and so on and so forth. So what you do is you think of a number on that line as being x, and then I drew the square that line has to, because you know this can be stretched and wheeled around and everything, and it's still just a line from 0 to 1. You just pick 0 and 1 in maths because it's an easier number to think about. And then you take the square and you do the same kind of thing. So again, points have coordinates, and any one point with coordinates a, b is called y. Why? Ha ha ha, I don't know, just because. Maths. And then the idea is, can you come up with a way that means that every single point in the square has a point on the line that this function, f, this unknown function, can will map onto. So you take any point in here and there is a point on here that will map onto it. So if that's kind of confusing, and it might not be because we're geeks, but just in case, that's basically a maths way of saying, can I draw a line so that it fills the entire square? Now, the fancy thing with the piano curves is that it's continuous, which you talked about, but the bit that you doubted was, to use the correct term, that it was surjective. Now, I did a little bit of a Wikipedia hunt just to kind of refresh. And what's really interesting is that surjective is the one where it says every single point on here has a point on here that the function will turn into the point on here. So any single point on here, or all the points on here, when mapped over, will end up covering all the points on here. And that's the space-filling curve when it's completed, when it's done infinite number of times. And infinity is the thing. here. It's the Infinity is mind-boggling, crazy-making. Oh my god, my head hurts-ness, and awesome for it. So your example, which is the blue one, so I'll just hide the other one for now. You start off with the N, and then you flip it up and mirror it around and everything, and then you do the same again and keep going. But the thing you'll notice here is that it's not getting bigger. The actual area being filled in is the same because that's your unit square. So that gives you a better idea of how, as you progress, more and more space within the square is getting filled in. And there was another picky on Wikipedia, which is why I printed this one out as well, which really went a bit further and really shows. Can the camera pick up the fact that that is? Yes, there we go. So you can see when it focuses well, but it is actually. Oh, I'm trying to get my. There we go. This is more difficult than I thought. There we are. And then as it starts to get away, you can see it sort of blurs slightly. So you imagine that process repeating, infinite number of times, and then you will have a function that does in fact fill the space. So what you did was to take that piano curve, sort of this one roughly here, and then just keep flipping it up and up and up and up and up, which is beautiful, and I love it. Seriously. But to actually get the whole space filling aspect, you have to shrink it and then repeat that process, and then shrink it and repeat the process, and shrink it and repeat. And that's how you end up filling more and more and more space, so that you do end up with the space filling curve. The interesting aside that one of the interesting asides that I got from Wikipedia was that it's surjective, which means that you can fill the square basically from a line, but it's not injective, which is to do with the fact that every spot, every sort of coordinate in the square, every y, has a distinct x. And apparently that doesn't happen, and I don't know the proofs and stuff behind it because I wanted to do this really quickly and not like redo my entire maths course. But you can kind of imagine that as this gets tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter, and the lines get closer and closer and closer and closer, to actually fill the square, the points will eventually have to touch or something. But it's infinity, which means you can't just go with what seems obvious in your head. You can't do that. It doesn't work. And if you want to really have your mind boggled, then I can wholeheartedly recommend a video on YouTube by an amazing lady called Vi Hart, V-I Hart, H-A-R-T. Now, the particular video that I was looking at is called Proof Some Infinities Are Bigger Than Other Infinities. Yes, I'm reading that off the screen. So you can Google that, but you can just look at any of her videos, and they are freaking awesome. Amazing stuff. She just does maths videos, and they're all fantastic, and I could spend far too long watching these things. And yeah, you heard me right. It's proving that some infinities are bigger than others. So the point here is that these two infinities are the same size, and therefore you can connect the two. Now, yeah. Okay, I set myself a 10-minute limit, so very quickly, I do want to record a video of my knitting technique because there's a couple of things that were really interesting about watching yours close up. That was amazing, thank you. But I'll have to do that another time. I'm off out for the rest of the day to celebrate my friend's birthday, even though it's raining all freaking day today. However, I did want to add, 1, root canal. Oh my god, you have my sympathies. I do not have good teeth. I was not blessed with good genetics where my teeth are concerned, so I have multiple fillings, and I've had to have many teeth removed just so that the ones that are left will fit in my mouth. Crazy, right? But there we go. And I still think I need more taken out because they still don't quite fit. 2, talking about things that are secret is so exciting. Don't apologise. Keep doing it. It's awesome. Wolverine, not my choice, but I love that you shared that. And I had this crazy, okay, this is going to run over 10 minutes, but only by a little bit. I had this idea around the whole elbow pain thing. So, needles. Because, of course, I have a knitting project within reach. So, I'm not going to actually knit. This is my sock. But this whole thing. So you were talking about trying continental versus English and all of this stuff, and I've done both. And I was a flicker as well when I did English, but I do continental solely now because it's quicker and I like speed. Can you tell? But one of the things I was thinking about, and I might have to sit on my other chair to show this, so, because it's got a better angle of my knitting, but it means I'm a bit higher up, and I didn't like that when I was starting to film. So when we knit, we tend to knit like this. Now, I can do it just with my wrists, yeah? I'm kind of looking at the video to make sure I can see myself. So why would it hurt your elbows? Well, the thing that I was thinking of is when I'm on the phone for a really long time, and it doesn't happen very often, but I have done it. You know, no. When I go and put the phone down, I kind of go creak, and my elbow canes when I try and move it. And I wondered, because generally we're going to knit like this so we can see what we're doing. And I had this thought of if you actually straightened your arms out when you knit. So I was thinking about having it in your lap. You can't actually see what I'm doing, but you could sort of rest your forearms on your thighs and knit between your knees. Now, it's a bit weird because you're used to kind of really paying attention and looking at what you're doing. So there's an element of either trusting your eyesight from that far away or sort of going with the feel of the knitting more and doing that kind of knitting without looking thing, which I kind of play with occasionally, but I'm very scared of doing. Because, you know, I don't have to rip back. But if you have your arm in this much more relaxed state and your elbows are nice and open, you can just sort of see them there, rather than held up here for long periods of time, maybe that will make a difference with your elbow pain. Now, I don't know for a fact at all, because obviously I don't really know what's wrong with your elbows, and I'm not a doctor. But I kind of was thinking about this idea of not holding your arm in this contracted position for a long time, because I know, okay, I have to be on the phone for a very, very, very long time. You know, the kind of conversation where you have to keep switching arms and stuff, because yeah, that kind of conversation. But my elbows really hurt afterwards, and it made me think of that. So that is my suggestion for you to try out if you would like. So other than filming my knitting technique, which I will just have to do maybe for my podcast or something, I don't know. I do want to do it though, so I've made a note. The other thing was this double knitting challenge. Yes, I am in. Count me in. Absolutely. So do you need me to knit something in double knitting first and then you'll do this chart, or are you just going to do the chart for me now and then I will knit that as double knitting? I'm not clear, because I have looked at double knitting before and I think it's fairly straightforward, to be honest. If you're doing straightforward mirrored double knitting, but you're non-mirrored, I think that was a term you said you used, which makes sense to me as well. Double knitting. Now that has me intrigued. How does that work? I want to know. So I would love to see a chart for your heliocentric, was it? Yeah, I think so. Hat with the obvious addition of the asteroid belt, because I feel that's very important to be recognised alongside Pluto. Right, I'm going to go because I've got a party to go to. But see you soon. Oh, yeah, and you are welcome anytime up here. In fact, I'm kind of planning whether or not I can be bothered to go down to London. I have to admit, I'm not a big fan of London, but in order to harass people, I think I could be persuaded. Bye!